Welcome all to the Transit Workforce Center's meeting of ATTAIN, the American Transit Training and Apprenticeship Innovators Network. This meeting will focus on bus operator mentorship and apprenticeship. My name is Karitza Holzgum. I'm Senior Policy Analyst at the International Transportation Learning Center, the organization that staffs the TWC, Federal Transit Administration's National Technical Assistance Center for Transit Workforce Development. I am joined in facilitating today's webinar by my colleague, Maurice Beard, Senior Workforce Development Advisor at TWC. Before joining us, he managed the Bus Operator Training Department at VTA in San Jose, California. VTA was actually the first transit agency in the country to start a bus operator mentorship and then apprenticeship program. Our mission is to support the workforce development needs of urban, suburban, tribal, and rural public transportation entities across the country. And again, as people join, please make sure to enter your name, title, organization, and location in the chat box, and then use the Q&A function for any questions that you'd like to have addressed when we get to that portion of today's webinar. So the first part of this webinar is probably were notified of is being recorded. But when we get to the Q&A, I'm going to turn the recording function off. And that's so that we can have a more informal discussion where people should feel free to speak candidly. So please put your questions into the Q&A box, again, instead of the chat, just so that I don't miss them. Today's agenda is up on the screen. Excuse me. We'll start with a step-by-step guide to starting a mentorship program. Then we'll go through the process to register as an apprentice. During the mentorship in practice panel, you'll get a chance to hear from a couple of agencies that have implemented mentorship programs. They'll talk about some kind of key points, lessons learned, highlights that we hope will help you as you explore the possibility of a bus operator mentorship or apprenticeship program at your agency. We really hope to convey to you today that mentorship and apprenticeship are workforce development tools that work for everyone involved: the transit agency, the union where applicable, the individual workers, and the community at large. As I'm sure many of you know, operating a bus can be a great career with a good wage, good benefits, but giving operators the support they need can make all of the difference for them to actually be able to stay in that career. Because these programs have such great results, more and more agencies have adopted them. We created a map that shows you exactly where all of these programs are. You can click on locations to see what type of program they have and documentation, any press on their program, etc. This presentation will be shared after the webinar, so you'll have access to the links. All right, this is going to get overwhelming. Here's a list of all of the transit agencies, and not even exhaustive. Don't worry if you don't see your agency up here. But just to illustrate how many agencies now have operator mentorship programs. Okay, so what is it? What is operator mentorship? After successfully completing initial training, new drivers are paired with mentors. And those mentors pass on their skills, mainly through kind of informal discussions and calls. Mentors are selected from among the experienced drivers at your agency through a process that's agreed upon. And this interaction usually happens outside of the new operator's regular shifts. Although most agencies do include ride-alongs in their programs, and that's where a mentor accompanies the new operator on a route. We've seen the following benefits come out of starting an operator mentorship program. Increased retention. This is huge. I know a lot of agencies are struggling with this. Operators, through this program, have a support system to help get them through those tough spots that might make them leave the career, the industry, even. Operators have more confidence and greater morale through participating in this program. Agencies with operator mentorship programs consistently see reduced rates of absenteeism, both for the mentees, the new operators, and the mentors. You'll have better recruitment options because you kind of elevate your status as an employer. You are seen as an employer that cares about their workforce. And there is a huge emphasis on customer service through this program. It's difficult to teach customer service skills in the classroom, but it's one of those things that is passed along really well in this type of program. All right, so here's some data that backs up what I was just talking about. BTA in San Jose saw an increase in retention of about 15%. That's huge. AC Transit saw a similar jump. GCRTA in Cleveland, their retention rate for operators with a mentor is more than 25% higher than for operators that didn't have a mentor. And they also recorded 34% fewer absences. That's pretty impressive, and it equates to cost savings. Those benefits that I was showing you earlier. So how do you do it? These are all of the steps. It doesn't have to happen in exactly this order, but this is what you have to do to start a program. So the first step is forming the committee that will oversee and run the program. If you have a union, it should be equally composed of labor and management. If you don't, you need to involve the workforce. This is a program that is by and for the workforce. So I also want to note that on this committee, you want to make sure that there are those with decision-making authority. The committee shouldn't need to go out to get approval. They should be able to make those decisions and decide what the program will look like. The committee will develop the criteria for mentors and determine the selection process. Criteria often includes a minimum number of years of employment, record clean of recent incidents, a number of unexplained absences, and general adherence to agency policies and procedures. I do want to note that it's recent incidents. We're not looking for operators that are perfect, that have never had an issue. In fact, the transit agencies that we've talked to about this specifically have said that some of their best mentors are those that had a rough start, but that overcame and found the way through, that they're then able to communicate to their mentees. All right, the committee will also decide how long the program is, whether it includes ride-alongs, like I mentioned, if there are periodic meetings of all of the mentors, whether you'll do a pilot phase. We do recommend a short pilot phase just to kind of like iron out the kinks. Launch it, track the data, your metrics, see what's working, what isn't, make adjustments as needed. I mean, this is all fluid and should, not be seen as one size fits all or, set in stone. One, my favorite part actually, branding your program. Mentorship programs often include like a catchy name that the workforce relates to, some sort of logo even, promotion of the program through flyers or even videos. This Mentors Moving Metro. This is from King County Metro in Seattle. And then the PIP, Positive Impact Program, is from Cleveland, Ohio, GCRTA. All right, so then you'll start the mentor selection process. Generally, mentors fill out an application. They're then interviewed by the committee. Their qualifications and records are checked, and then they are selected by the committee. And then launch the program. You notify and train your mentors. I want to note that the Transit Workforce Center offers a mentor training program that gives the mentors skills they need to effectively communicate, to kind of understand how people learn and absorb information. You'll want to make sure that you have a program coordinator that is tracking metrics that show the program's impact. And again, just remembering that this is a fluid process, that you can always go back and make changes. Okay, so I'm repeating this just to talk about apprenticeship for a second. You'll see that the benefits are pretty much the same, but there is one additional benefit that I want to note. By registering your mentorship program as an apprenticeship, you're then eligible for various funding opportunities when they become available. And they're usually from your state or local workforce development board. Sorry. And then you can also allow veterans to access their GI Bill benefits while in the program. They receive a housing stipend on top of their hourly wage. But it does have to be a registered apprenticeship. So basically what that means, though, is just getting a stamp of approval from your local Office of Apprenticeship. There's some paperwork, but you've already satisfied the requirements that the U.S. Department of Labor has for registered apprenticeship. A minimum of 2,000 hours of on-the-job learning per year is satisfied by the driving time that operators are already doing. There is a minimum of 144 hours of related technical instruction as classroom training. I guarantee that most agencies on this call, if you have operator training, it's more than 144 hours. All right, so the first step to registering your mentorship program as an apprenticeship is to contact the office that will do that. It's pretty easy to find out who to get in touch with. Every state has their own slight unique process or specific forms. They will help you through the process and guide you along the way. You'll need to make sure that the apprenticeship aligns with the collective bargaining agreement if that applies, if you have a union. The committee that I mentioned earlier, formed jointly with labor and management, will complete the Standards of Apprenticeship, which is a document that'll be given to you by the apprenticeship office. And it basically just describes what the program looks like: length, the wage progression, the ratio of mentors to mentees, etc. You'll submit that paperwork to your state office and then run your program, keeping an eye out for those funding opportunities. All right. So I want to quickly talk about some of the things that, as we at the TWC have promoted mentorship and this workforce development tool, have consistently seen are the keys to success. And obviously, your mentors are the core of your program. They really make or break, what happens within the program. Here are some of the eligibility requirements that King County Metro has as an example. Most of their operators who become mentors have at least 15 years of service. That's a lot, and they are, just able to pass along, you know, 15 plus years of experience to these new operators who don't know what they're doing. Um, and what I talk about, what actually happens in this relationship? King County Metro did a survey, and these are all of the topics. It's a lot. Mostly, they're just checking in, saying hi, but that is really important. Mentors, um, new operators need to feel like they are not alone. Mentors do a great job of that. And they're also able to guide them through kind of some tricky topics, how to navigate picking your shifts and routes, um, managing your work-life balance, stress, etc. And mentors also get something out of this experience. They enjoy the role of being a mentor. Um, there is often a sense of kind of re-energization for their job, re-energizing, um, and they have a sense that they are valued and helpful, connected um, to the workforce. All right, and another huge, huge key is your program coordinator or coordinators. They play a critical role in ensuring smooth implementation. They're the ones who are on the ground, doing kind of the day-to-day pairing of mentors and mentees, checking in with the mentors, tracking the metrics and the progress of each pair. And lastly, use the resources that are available to you. Um, we, the TWC, are here for any questions that you have, for any way that we can provide technical assistance. Please reach out to us. There is a national group that meets monthly of just mentorship program coordinators. They're able to come in with their challenges, their successes, and learn from their peers. Um, you know, lean on your labor union. The international often has resources, whether it's training or help finding funding. They're a great partner, as well as tapping into the local workforce system, again, for funding, for assistance and guidance. All right. So we are super fortunate to be joined today by Greater Richmond Transit Company and ATU Local 1220, and also Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District. Both transit agencies and partnerships have operator mentorship programs. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Mason and Wendy Tunstall to talk about their program.
Hi,
Ashley, Wendy?
my name is Wendy Tunstall. I am the ATU coordinator for GRTC. I work along with Ashley. Ashley represents the GRTC management side. Ashley?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley Mason, as was previously mentioned. I am the Employee Engagement Manager at GRTC, and I also am the co-coordinator with Wendy, representing the management side of our program, our mentorship program, which is called MEET, which stands for Mentoring, Educational, Employment Training.
Awesome. Wendy, you want to go through a couple of these slides that we've got here? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
Wendy, you muted.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm going to explain how we found out about the program. I attended a seminar in Canada where Jermaine Gibson presented the mentorship program. We brought it back to Richmond. We presented it to GRTC. They were on board because we were having problems with retention. So we was hoping that this program would help, and so far we're doing a great job. Jermaine came to Richmond. We hired our mentors. We put out the application. We hired our mentors. We have now 6 mentors, and we have 10 mentees. They're on the board. They're really good. Most of them have 20 years plus experience. They're very caring. They like doing what they do. They came in for a training with Jermaine Gibson. He flew in. He did a great training. We enjoyed it. That's a picture of us at the training. They did have to meet some requirements to be a mentor. They had to be 3 years, minimum 3 years of service. No, at least not have no more than 5 no call-in or no shows. Good safety record, professional appearance, strong communication skills, and they had to be an ATU member. Ashley?
Certainly. So yes, this has been a wonderful partnership with our partners in the union, the local ATU 1220. As you can see in this picture right here, this is also part of the training. We initially started off with 8 mentors, and due to workloads, Wendy was one of our mentors, and unfortunately with her workload as an operator, a current bus operator, as well as her coordinator position, it was difficult to balance that as well as being a mentor. And then we had another operator who was also a mentor who unfortunately no longer is a mentor. So right here in this picture, you can see we were continuing with our training with G, as Wendy mentioned. Some of the duties that our mentors currently have, they have to meet with their mentees either by phone, in person once a week. They attend meetings quarterly. They perform ride-alongs, and then of course during all of their communication and outreach, they have that ongoing guidance which they receive.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley and Wendy. I'm going to there we go. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce our next panelist, Valerie Campo. She is the Mentor Program Coordinator for Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District, MTD. Valerie?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
All right, I'm Valerie Campo, and I am the Mentor Program Coordinator for Champaign-Urbana Mass Transit District here in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. We go by MTD. So the first time I heard anything about mentoring programs at all, funny story, I had applied for a radio operator position, and I didn't get it. This is when I was a driver. And the person who is our assistant operations director, he, let me know that, yeah, I'd done a good job. And he's like, if we ever had anything like a mentoring program, then you would do really good at that. And so that kind of put the thought in my head. And then a couple of years later, they opened up this role. So, applied for it, and a number of us had applied for it. And honestly, I think any of us who had would have gotten that role would have done well at it. It just would have looked a little different. And I think that's something to be said for when picking program coordinators, just knowing that it can look a little different depending on each person's personal vision, and making sure it aligns with the districts. So I get into this and I really didn't know a whole lot about it. So I set to researching because that's something I love to do. And so I found TWC within a couple of hours of searching, and I emailed Miss Pat Greenfield, and told her what we were doing. And she hooked me in with Deanna McCain, who at the time was the mentor program coordinator for Indigo. I believe she is now with ATU International. And she really showed me what she was doing, and she was a great one to start off like learning from, because she started, the program there, and she did a beautiful job with, a lot more mentees and mentors than what we have here. So fast forward, we decided how we wanted to do things. We wanted to have check-ins that kind of released everybody. So they start out heavy with like weekly check-ins or daily check-ins the first 2 weeks. Then we move on to weekly check-ins until the end of the third month. And then from there, we go to bi-weekly till the beginning or the end of the 6th month. And then from there, it's monthly contact. Initially, what we really wanted, of course, was to have the face-to-face contact, but with service and having issues with, attendance issues with just everything that everybody's dealing with right now, we ended up having a lot of texting relationships, a lot of um, phone calls, not as much FaceTime as what we really wanted, as far as with the mentors, with their mentees. And to back that up, I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place with this. When we chose our mentors, we had pretty much the same qualifications we were looking for as what GTRC did. So we were looking for someone at that point with at least 3 years of experience. Most of our mentors had at least 10 to start off with. We were looking for people that had good work history as far as their conduct. And as far as with preventables, we didn't want them to have any more than one preventable in the course of a year. We were looking for people who are our drivers respected. And it was very brand new. And so there was a lot of people who were interested in it at that point because it was brand new, which makes sense because whenever there's something new, everyone kind of wants to get involved. So we got our first group chosen. We started off with 17 strong, and we got them trained. And so we trained them on communication. We did adult learning. We talked a lot about customer service, really making sure that they are hitting hard on the soft skills because they've already been trained in the technical skills. And so we really wanted to make sure that they were doing well with their soft skills. And at what we found, and over the course of the first 2.5 years of this, was that with the workforce shortage on top of people having just different shifts, it was difficult to get people to really meet up like we wanted them to. And we really want to have that face time. So we looked at our data. The first year, 2 years, I said it's like a kind of a hybrid. 22, 23 is when we have our first set of data from, and that we had 66% for our retention. That was up from 54% before. Then this last year, we just got our results in for fiscal year 24, and we're looking at 67%, so just another percentage higher. But what we did find is that the qualitative data was much better. We had mentees rather, who said there's no way they would have made it if they didn't have their mentor. Even though there wasn't that face time that we really wanted, they were still having conversations. They still had support. They still had someone making sure that they were doing good and someone they could vent to. We have Vegas rules in what we do. As long as it doesn't violate district policy, if you share it, with your mentor, we're not going to tell. But if you violate district policy, we're snitching. So we talked with I talked with my HR director, who is who I report to, because we're not represented, we're not union. Talked with her, and we were going over some different ideas, and she came from the education sector, and she had had an idea as a mentor program coordinator in the school system. So we talked about limiting the number of mentors that we had and moving into a 3-person coaching model, essentially. So we hashed everything out, thought about how it would look, and we presented it to our managing director and our deputy managing director. And they said, it was a good time for us to reevaluate things and a good time to kind of switch things over. So that's what we're in the process of doing now. We just hired 2 mentor operator hybrid positions, 2 brand new positions here at the organization. And these 2 people are going to mentor full-time 2 days a week, and then they will drive the other 3 days of the week. So we're making sure that we still have service on the street, but we're going to have lots of FaceTime with our mentees. We're going to be able to go out there and meet with them while they're en route, while they're having issues, because that was one of the big things. We couldn't help them when they were having issues because we had mentors on the bus. And if there was more than one person having issues, then, I wasn't able to handle anything like that. So our supervisors are wonderful. And, they were doing everything that supervisors have always traditionally done. But, even bigger, helping the new people to get comfortable with their runs and whatnot. So we're starting this new program, and we're going to be working really closely with safety and training. Basically, we started off, I do mentee mingles, we called them. Now they're going to be called drive time discussions. And with those, they're monthly meetings with the mentees. And I kind of follow APTA standards as far as what I'm going to do for the subject, and then give them time to talk afterwards, to kind of vent, in a group, to really know that they're understood by somebody else, that we're all going through the same thing. And so with the new model, we're going to be following up what safety and training does, and really, again, still hitting hard on those soft skills. We're going to have an actual curriculum at some point. We're going to start off, it's not going to be the curriculum. We're going to have a lot of, like I said, the FaceTime, really getting this program down and solid. And then as we have a new assistant safety and training director, and he is helping get some new stuff going up there. And so we're going to be following with what they do, but bringing it over to the operations side. And yeah, that's the gist of what we're doing.
Thank you, Valerie. It's really exciting to kind of see the evolution and kind of progression. Excited to see the new model and how it works.
Yeah, it's
All
going to be
right.
exciting.
I am going to put everyone up on the screen and take off PowerPoint so that we can get into our mentorship and practice panel. I will turn it over to Maurice to lead, and yeah, I'll stop sharing now. Maurice?
Hey guys, Maurice Beard, Senior Workforce Development Advisor here at TWC. Again, thank everybody for coming. I have to tell you, we were pretty lucky today. not only to have this great panel, but the people who are online right now, with us, we've got some pretty heavy hitters. First off, Mr. Steve Jovel from BTA wanted me to make sure that everyone knew his email is in, everyone knows that his email is in the chat, and he is the one who runs the monthly coordinator meeting and invites you to join. So he's there. Take advantage of that. Couple of points I wanted to make. We've got, again, Seattle's here. We've got some people who are considering starting, um, uh, who have logged on, and it's just wonderful. So this should be a good, cross-section of information that happens. Looking forward to the Q&A to see what people are thinking about. Um, but let's get to the panel. And, well, actually, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place myself today. A couple of things. First off, with these programs, you're not alone. If you really couldn't catch that earlier on, you're really not alone in the building of them and the running of them. The interactive map that Caritza showed before, there's so much information in that map. When you click on an agency who is on the map, you get their standards, you get what programs they have, and so you're able to tap into that and help yourself as you're building your program. Everyone has been so wonderful about sharing with as these programs are started and implemented. So please don't feel like what you're doing it alone. The other thing that I want to stress is that these are completely customizable programs. What's going to work is Champaign. It's going to work in Virginia. It's not going to work in Illinois. It works for your agency. Okay. And there are elements that we all have and we all share that we can use, but you know what? The criteria that they, have in Seattle doesn't work for my agency. So I'm going to have that criteria, we're going to set that ourselves. I think that's a very important point to make, the customization of these things. And, Kritcha was right about the re-energizing of personnel. You get somebody who's been working for, 10, 15 years, and they have a wealth of knowledge that you are now tapping into. So when your new people come into this agency, again, folks, transit isn't something that people really understand until they get in it. And when you get into transit, you're like, oh my God, this is what you guys do? I thought you just sat here and drove all day, but you get the multi layers upon layer of things that you have to be involved in and that you're responsible for. So, it is so helpful to have somebody who you can lean on. And we all have that route that, has people's hair on fire at the end of it. And when you can come off of that route, and in San Jose, it was either the 22 or the 70, you are dying to talk to somebody about it. And you realize that, okay, it's not just me. This is how you handle that. So I just wanted to say a couple of things about the programs and how transformative they can be for new employees. I was an operator for 17 years in San Jose, and we had, as Caritza mentioned, we were the first persons to do this, the first agency to do this. And it has really made a difference in many, many people's lives. I can point to people who I know who stayed on the job because we had these programs. So to our panel, got a few questions. Many of these questions have already been answered in their introductions, but we'll poke around and see what else we can find. Put your questions in the chat. When we get to the Q&A, we'll, definitely get those questions answered. So Valerie, you talked about sort of revamping your program. Can you tell us really what was the genesis for your revamping?
Like I said, one of the biggest issues that we had was not being able to get that FaceTime with everyone. And as a result of that, I took on a lot of contact with mentees because their mentors weren't able to, help them. So that ended up being, by the time that, like right now, as we're transitioning, we had 33 mentors and 45 mentees right now. That's like 70 some odd people. So I was, instead of just being able to coordinate the mentors, I kind of had to do, double duty, triple duty and taking on other people's mentors. So at one point, mentees. So at one point I had 9 of my own on top of, everybody that I was overseeing. And it just got to be a lot. I was staying late at night, trying to get stuff taken care of. And it was just a lot. And so when I talked with our deputy managing director about that, she had suggested, the talking to okay, so with us not being represented, our HR director is the one who is over everything. And that's how it came, for us talking about what her idea was in education and kind of seeing how that would work here.
Fantastic. And again, the fact that you aren't represented, I think, is very important again to this call in terms of the customization of these. You don't have to have a labor union. You can work with your management and your labor to create a committee to run these programs. But of course, it is different if you are represented. Part of the reason that we suggest structuring the programs the way we do. Okay. We had talked earlier about converting your mentorship to apprenticeship. And when you have the programs a year long, satisfying that 144 and the 2,000 hours, again, which also is what you need to have an apprenticeship, it makes an easy transition from one to the other. But again, and it's a matter of just mirroring those things. So, it's an easy conversion. Okay. With Ashley and Wendy, so your labor management partnership, you talked about how well that's worked out. G came down and gave you guys the training. At that point, when did you guys decide that this is what we needed to do?
I can start us off. So yes, as Wendy previously mentioned, the start of these conversations actually started the winter of 2023, where Wendy and the rest of some other union representatives attended a conference in Canada where they were able to learn about this program. And so after that, they came back super excited, ready to go, and spoke to GRTC's management side. And with that, they were completely on board because of all of the things that Gritza previously mentioned or what the benefits of having a mentorship program. From there, we had conversations with G. He is a wonderful resource. So if any of y'all have his contact information, I know Gritza does, she can provide that to you. He's just so great to have in your back pocket to give you information. He met with GRTC as a union and told us all the things that we need to know to start the program off. From there, we developed and also he was able to give us other transit agencies resources that they use and their contact information for us to kind of tailor the program to meet our needs. So we didn't start from the ground up. Luckily, we had previous applications, we had flyers and things like that where we were able to tailor it to meet GRTC's needs. From there, we developed our application and then we opened it up to the public. Excuse me, before that, we developed our branding. As was previously mentioned, that was really important because you want to have a brand that that your company, your organization embraces. That it creates that buy-in for people. So we branded it, and then we had the application, and then we opened it up. And I must say, and Wendy can attest to this, we had a huge response to it. We only selected 8 because we had a very strict guidelines that we wanted to meet. Not to say that everyone didn't meet it, but we really honed in on these 8 initial mentors that we had. And from there, G came back down and conducted some training, and we were off to the races from there. So it's just been a wonderful opportunity, and we're actually about to start our celebrate our 1-year anniversary of the mentorship program today. And Wendy, if you have anything you'd like to add to that, I know I covered a lot, so sorry.
No, I'm excited to move forward to the apprenticeship program. So we're working on that now. So hopefully soon we'll be contacting the DOL and we'll be on board.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then we'll add you to the map. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Get on the map. No, see that, and again, the fact that you aren't alone with this, folks, there are the other agencies are there to help. We're here to help, obviously. But we have had just an unprecedented level of sharing with this because I believe everyone feels the pain. Okay, every agency out there is trying to hire, trying to retain. Trying to do everything they can to keep employees because we have so much knowledge walking out of the door. And all of you understand that it takes much more money to hire and lose somebody in a few months than, get this program going and then keep them. The stats that we get out of Cleveland, GCRTA, not to be mixed up with GRTC, that we get out of there. And King County's survey that they recently did, also by state, St. Louis, they've got some fantastic stats on how well this is keeping people at your program, at your agency. Um, so I'll ask you both, what's sort of the biggest non-data um, benefit that you all have seen? Let's start with Ashley.
Wonderful. Yes, I think, well, off the top of my head, I would say there were two things that have been the biggest non-data benefits that we've seen. And it's already kind of been alluded to during our earlier discussions, is that,
Hmm.
you know, sometimes, I won't speak for everybody, but sometimes when you run an organization, you only see yourself in that singular role. Like, I'm here to do employee engagement. I'm here to operate a bus. Whereas with this program, I think it's really opened up the minds of our mentors to see
Hmm.
there's something beyond operating a bus. There's opportunities perhaps for management, a supervisory, anything. It's unlimited essentially, and I think that's been a huge takeaway from us. And I take pride in knowing that our mentors feel that. A second benefit I would like to add, I think, and Wendy can touch on this as well. I think there's a stronger, I know there's definitely a stronger collaboration between GRTC and the union. I know previously, of course, I know of Wendy. She's in the union and has been a long-term operator and has just been extremely successful in her career. But getting to know her on a one-to-one basis has just been such a joy. And I know I can attest to getting to know our other committee members as well as the mentors in the program. It's just been a great opportunity. It's really strengthened the bonds between GRTC and the union side.
That's fantastic. Wendy, you have anything to add to that?
Ashley pretty much covered it all.
Okay.
I was a mentor myself, like she said, and I had a mentee, but really I contacted them all, and I still do. But I do a lot. So like this morning, I still operate the bus. I've been on the bus this morning. I came straight to the office. I check with my mentors at least 2 to 3 times a week. But most days I see them every day. So we communicate every day about this program.
That's fantastic. Valerie, do you have anything to add on the non-data benefit?
Again, I think it's the support and knowing that there is someone there who's been through it before.
Hmm.
That's been one of the biggest benefits. Helping people with their picks has been huge. When you come from not being in transit and you
Hmm.
see that pick board,
Hmm.
I thought ours was insane, but when I went to visit Indigo and it was like 7 or 8 boards, but back in front, I don't know what I would have done if I'd walked into anything like that as a brand new person, knowing how I felt here when we have a board.
Right.
And it's big enough to us, but that was huge. So having someone to walk you through that, explain how it'll work with your family life, how you're going to, if you don't want to work overnights, if you want to, how the part-time versus full-time, the whole thing, just having someone there to help you through it really was beneficial to a lot of people.
No, that's fantastic. And I can attest as a former operator. Um, so our bids took place over 4 or 5 days. And, you see work that you think you might get, and seniority plays the role that it plays, and you know, what one run does to the next run. Oh, it gets off here at what time? I mean, there's so many things to, decipher while you're trying to pick a run. And it does help to have a veteran say, hey, wait a minute, that might look good, but look at what time you're getting off and where you're being relieved and how you got to get back to your car and how you're going to get, it's going to take you an hour and a half to get home at that time. Take this other run, and it's better. So things like that. So I totally feel you. And again, you've got a veteran to help you. It makes a difference. It really makes a difference. We have gone through a lot of things that I was going to ask you guys. You've done have such a wonderful job at just being complete in your intros and just discussing these things. Um, when we just the coordinator positions, leadership has put a lot of trust in you guys, personally as the coordinators of the program. Um, You've talked a little about your roles, but is there anything as a coordinator that you feel like, I'm really happy that I'm doing this so I could pass this along? Wendy, and go ahead, Wendy.
I'm happy to be the coordinator. I feel like I know mostly everybody because most of our operators do come to be union members.
Hmm.
I meet them in that order, and also I introduced the mentorship program. And when you mention it to them, everybody has their hand up because when we were in the pilot program, we just was picking random out of the classes. So now we can pick everybody to have a mentor, and they're happy about it because it's a lot of questions and it's a lot of problems that come up. So if my mentors can't do it, I try to jump in and do it for them.
Fantastic. Valerie, anything to that, or is it just basically, well, it's kind of what you've been saying all along, if I'm not speaking, I don't want to speak for you, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's the support, but for myself, I've been at MTD for 16 years.
Mm.
So now that I get to meet the people who are coming in as brand new operators, for me, it's exciting because I get to see people who I've been here forever. We've got an operator who I think he started here when I was 6. And, and I'm not in my 40s anymore. So, he's been here a really long time. So I see him all the way down to the brand new person. And so for me, that was exciting. And I feel like, I guess when choosing someone to do this role, maybe look at someone who is curious about people, really wanting to find out about them, and someone that people trust.
That's fantastic. Okay. Caritza, you want to go to Q&A now? Looking at the time,
Sure. Yeah, we've got
quite a few.
over a dozen questions, and I think we can yeah, let's just start in order. We
Well,
had a question.
before you do that, sorry, we're gonna stop recording, and then there was another feature that we
Oh, I
okay.